Hello, wrestling fans. Brian Thompson here with the School of Morton podcast. It is starting to get cold. It's the winter season. Santa Claus is on his way. Pardon me. In all my excitement of the holiday season, I forgot you cannot have a School of Morton podcast without the man himself, the legend, the multiple-time NWA Tag Team Champion of the world, former Smoky Mountain Tag Team Champion. I'm talking about my good friend, the legendary one-half of the Rock and Roll Express, the father of the School of Morton, Mr. Ricky Morton himself. Happy holidays, Ricky. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing great, man. That's one of the best ways I ever heard in my life to stretch out the longest intro in indoor history.
That's it.
I really like that, Brian. That's really cool. And I'd like to wish everybody out there happy holidays. I know it's turkey season. You have a turkey this week?
I think I am a turkey, Ricky.
Well, I just want to know. You heard now they called back all the Butterball turkeys, did you?
No, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, they called it back. They forgot to butter the balls. But,
well, on that note, first question out of the chute for you this month, Ricky, is how are things in the School of Morton? Yeah, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
I got you, buddy. I'm telling you.
Yeah, you got me all flustered here. But
wishing everybody out there. I just want to wish everybody out there great holidays here at the School of Morton. What a great place. Brian, I've been on the road here lately, a lot going on, and which is really a good thing. Robert and I just filmed Impact Wrestling with the Broken Matt Hardy out in Cameron, North Carolina, and I got to say to all the folks out there listening, it'll be airing December the 15th. Make sure you get a chance and watch it. And gosh, I got to hand it out for the guys. They wrote Robert and I. They wrote us in a good part, and we really appreciate that. Some of the guys still remember us and help us out a little bit. So,
everybody remembers you guys. Everybody that's a true wrestling fan certainly remembers you and Robert and your contributions to wrestling. I understand the school, of course, has regular shows about once a month. Bobby Eaton and I were there last month in October. Got to come back to the school. See, every time we're there, seems like the thing adds new elements growing, the ring moved around, all kinds of good stuff going on, exciting action. Ricky, what's the next thing? I think there's a Christmas Crunch.
Oh, man, we got Christmas Crunch coming up, and that's December the 4th. And, gosh, I can't wait. Our boys here at the school, Brian, they really work hard. We have different folks that come in and work with them, especially when I'm on the road. And it's not only about learning about wrestling, it's learning about different things, dealing with life. But we have a great time here. I'm not going to go into all the personal things, but, man, great card. And a couple of our new kids that just started in, it's when the parents come up to you and they tell you that not only did the school help them come out of their shells, but make their grades come up in school. And that's a good thing, man. That really touches me to believe something like our school can bring things out into people, especially with their public speaking. And this flabbergastes me sometimes to understand how great our school has turned out to be. A lot of hard work in here. Me and James were talking the other day. I remember the first day we opened up, we had open house and nobody showed up. You hear me? But then we started with one student, and buddy, and here we are today. We done had to make the place. Had to add on to it 4 different times to make it bigger, and tearing walls out, and I'm just thankful that I'm blessed to have a place like this to come to and to pass on the tradition of tag team wrestling. And you know what, Brian? And at this time here right now, I would really like for you, because I do. I told you earlier, I bring a lot of people in here as being special guests here at my school. And one of them is on the other line. He's we got him on hold listening to that Dennis music. But
that's it.
would you? I'd like for you to bring him in. Not only is he one of the great entertainers of all time, he's a great friend. And man, I just want to welcome here to the podcast of the School of Morton. Go ahead and do that for me.
Oh, yeah, certainly, Ricky. One of the all-time greats in wrestling. He's done it all, wrestled all over the entire world for every major pro wrestling organization that's ever existed, and certainly has left his legacy on many of the great superstars that you've seen in the last 2 decades or so that applied their trade, and some of them are even on the cover. They're even being called sexiest men now. I would say part of that is as a result of the man that I'm about to welcome to the School of Morton podcast, the one and only, the heavenly body himself, the Dr. Desire, Dr. Tom Prichard. Tom, how you doing today, buddy?
Brian, thank you very much for that warm, heartfelt introduction as well. And I was just listening to Ricky try and describe his school. And if you don't mind, and just indulge me for a couple minutes to let me give you my thoughts real quick on the School of Morton, because when I first stepped in there, my first impressions are Ricky Morton is one of the last of a dying breed, the guy that comes from a territory, the guy that knows about sportatoriums and little arenas all around this country, and especially in the southeast part of the country where that flavor is really wrestling and really that hard, gritty, down and dirty, get in your face, is this real, is it not, you damn right it's real, type style. I mean, that's what went through my mind. You have these pictures of the guys from the past, the guys that are wrestling history, the guys that the kids of today should study and learn from, because while it can't be replicated or duplicated, you can certainly steal 1 or 2 moves from some of these guys, and it might also be really interesting to find out some of the history of a guy like Wahoo McDaniel, a guy like Tully Blanchard. Of course, I think it's a crime. Let me go ahead and get this out of the way. It's a crime against the business that the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express are not in the Hall of Fame. And by the Hall of Fame, I mean the WWE Hall of Fame. So that being said, the School of Morton is the greatest school in East Tennessee, not only for its ability to teach these young men and women that come in there with something about life and something about the business, but it is a fun atmosphere, and it's a place where you can learn about pretty much everything there is to know about the business of professional wrestling. It's a great place to be, and I've been honored and grateful to be there on a couple of occasions helping teach those classes when Ricky's been on the road. So it's a real cool place, man. And let me say one more thing before I take a breath. There was something on YouTube. I don't know if you saw this, Ricky, but there was a meme or whatever they're called, one of those little short pictures on YouTube with you against Nick Bockwinkel, where you do a move, Nick has you in an arm twist, you step on his leg, you come around his head, you snap Merriam, and then you grab a hold, man. I mean, it's a simple move, but it hadn't been done in so long, and it looks different, spectacular, and I haven't seen anybody do that since you've done it. So there's some little itty-bitty things that guys like you, guys like Robert, from that era who were on top in the Carolinas, who were on top in the National Wrestling Alliance when the National Wrestling Alliance really meant something. It was the premier organization in the world. You can't find that anywhere else but with you and the School of Morton. So, that being said, how are you guys today?
Well, Tom, I want to tell you thank you. You know what? Bobby Eaton comes here every now and then, too, and I have a shirt that's hanging out here in my glass case that Bobby puts on when he comes in. It says School of Eaton.
Yes.
I'm gonna have one specially made for you, the School of Prichard.
Well, very nice.
When you come in, and Daisy, you know what? I want to thank you a lot because it's when I'm on the road and to hand my school over to somebody, the training-wise, I don't have to worry about them learning. I don't have to worry about anything else but the wrestling business. I want to tell you, thank you very much for doing that for me. I didn't get a chance to text you or call you this week since you've been here, but, man, I do. I appreciate it very much and love having you on our show. And, Brian,
I'm here. I am soaking up knowledge from 2 of the absolute finest to ever lace up a pair of wrestling boots. And Tom, I tell you what, checks in the mail on that endorsement because that was tremendous. I mean, I may be looking for a job. I thought I was the intro guy on this podcast, but man, Tom Prichard, you talk about Grand Slam, brother, right there.
Yeah, but let me just kind of make another point, if I can, real quick. In a day and age where there's a wrestling school on almost every corner, or a guy who says he used to wrestle for 30 years, whatever it may be, you can tell the real from the phony real quick. And I think the most important thing in wrestling is attitude, and it starts at the top and goes all the way down to the bottom. So if you have somebody who's been there, done that, they understand when somebody's new, and they understand the nerves and the anxious feelings that you're going to have when you walk into a wrestling school. And a good trainer, a good coach, in my opinion, is someone who approaches it from that viewpoint of the student coming in for the first time and understanding these the apprehension and the thoughts that go through your mind. I mean, you don't know. This is Ricky Morton, one half of the greatest. They were called the tag team of the 80s, and they're still working in 2016. And that says a lot for their ability and their reputation, because not too many guys who were on top in 1985 or 1980, whatever it was, are still around working these shows and being featured today, much less do they have a school with as much memorabilia and history as Ricky's does. So to be a good coach and to be a good trainer, I think you do have to have that connection and that knowledge of what it's like to be scared, anxious about what it's really like being in a professional wrestling ring. And when I see these kids, when I do these classes at the School of Morton, I look at these kids and the young kids and both the girls and the guys. I see it in their eyes. They have the confidence and they have the ability. There's one kid in particular, a kind of big kid who gets in there, and you can tell he's having an issue with confidence. But once he gets in that ring and once he starts wrestling, once he's comfortable, you can see something, and that's what really makes you feel special as a coach. That's what gives you that sense of accomplishment. And I can tell, I can sympathize and empathize with Ricky when he talked about the open house and nobody came, because I've been in that same boat. East Tennessee's not a real profitable place, let me say that, for Knoxville, because you have all these guys running, but to have it in Chuckey, Tennessee, and to have as many as 20, 30 kids as you do, that's quite an accomplishment. So, I speak from having the opportunity to coach other places and see other schools, and then get to go down to Chuckey and check that out too, and it is, to repeat myself time and time again, it is the greatest school in East Tennessee. And if anybody out there listening to me wants to learn how to the art of professional wrestling and the business, there's the place to do it. Because again, I think you need to know how to talk to the kids about the business, the people that want to come in. You need to know how to relate to them, and also if they want to hear the stories about the past. I mean, who has better stories than Ricky Morton? Some you can't tell, but a lot you can. You know what I mean?
So, not in the air anyway. Go to the school.
Guys, I appreciate that very much. And understand, when we first, like I told everybody, I said, man, we build it like the Field of Dreams. They will come, and they did eventually. But Tommy, you made a point earlier that, when the guys first come into my school, that's what I got to do. I have to make each and every one of them feel comfortable when they come in, because especially the ones that's never been in the ring, just to understand, and I teach them, that ring's dangerous. That ring will bite you if you're not paying attention. A lot of guys don't even understand that. But, I have some guys that come into my school that think they're off the street, that think they're real tough. And if you don't know how to hit the ropes, you've done this before, I know too, Tom Prichard. Yeah. Well, just hit the ropes 20 times for me. Let me see how you do. Well, they hit the ropes they hit the ropes about 20 times. They're making excuses that their wife needs them to come home, and because their side's hurting them so bad. But my kids, it's to make them feel comfortable, and then you have some that come in that's already trained, that think they know everything. And you try to do it in a nice way to teach them, to make them understand, buddy. I mean, you throw a nice drop kick, but I know 20,000 people that can do that. We got to learn how to work. And
yeah,
that's
well, I think the fundamentals never go out of style, man, and that's the fact. Hey, but let me ask you this: who was it who came up to you and first told you were going to work with Nick Bockwinkel in Houston, Texas, in the main event?
Oh, who told me that?
Yeah,
I was working with Joe Blanchard. Tony Blanchard did.
Okay. Well, who do you think suggested that main event? I mean,
well, I know who suggested that main event.
Go ahead.
Then this is I was a young kid working in the San Antonio area for Joe Blanchard and Tony Blanchard. Yeah. And I was partners with Ken Lucas.
Yep.
And they was looking for somebody. And Nick Bockwinkel, I worked with Nick. I did Our Broadway with Nick in San Antonio. And then he come back, him and Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan was really the one that really pushed it for me.
No doubt.
Wow.
Telling Paul Bosch, let me tell you a story here, Tom, which is really good. And since you're mentioning this, back in those days, working for the Blanchards, you got paid every night, and Paul Bosch paid in cash every night. And I was a young kid, working for every night, being partners with Ken Lucas. And I got to work the match, the Our Broadway in San Antonio, and Bobby Heenan and Nick, they pushed it to Paul because we had a great Our Broadway. And so the match happened. It was a 3-fall match in Houston, main event. And, it was back then, it was packed anyway. You had a great, Paul Bosch brought in and had great wrestling cards there at the Sam Houston Coliseum. So you're supporting, everything. Everything meant something, but you got paid by your match. And I remember when my match was over, Paul Bosch come by and paid me, and he gave me a big old thick envelope, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, he must have paid me in ones tonight. And then I went back in the back, and I'm going to tell you, this is how green I was in the business. I counted it, and it was $2,800. And you got to understand, 1981, 1982, $2,800. And I went to Paul Bosch. I went back to him. I said, Paul, I think you gave me the wrong envelope. He says, no, that's your envelope. That's what you made tonight. Well, I was so scared to death, man. I stuck that money down in my boot, and man, I got it taped, and I was so scared that somebody was going to rob me. I never had that much money in my life at one time. $2,800. What a payoff. And, gosh, I mean, I went home and told my wife that, man, we thought we'd won the lottery. But that was just saying that was how different the business was when you was just working in the business, working main events. So, that was a great, thing I learned there about the payoffs coming up.
Well, yeah, but I even bring that up, and I ask you because, I remember at the time, especially, and during that time, it was a big man's business. And for you, first of all, to get a match with, because my idea would be that it would be Nick who would ask to work with you in Houston, because Nick was a partner with Paul in Houston. He owned part of Houston. You knew that, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, I would think that's what I'm saying. In Nick's town, I think he would say, let me work with Ricky Morton. We'll have a hell of a match.
Nick, But Nick, he loved the match we had in San Antonio. And, and years after that, me and him, we say, I went up and worked for Vern a couple of times and worked with Nick up there, too. Had tremendous in matches, that, especially after I got older and realized that you didn't have to go 100 miles an hour in a match and how to work. And, and you said earlier about that, the move where I step on the leg and step over and, snap marry him. And, it was all, back then, and that's why I try to teach here at the school, especially the new guys coming in, and I preach it, and I preach it, and I preach it. It's the basics of professional wrestling. You could tell a story at any time in that, but going back to what you're saying, it was Nick and Bobby Heenan was a good friend of mine too, Tom, but that was later on. I was still a kid, but they just liked my work. And, and I really didn't. I guess Nick did have a lot to do with it, but Bobby did too, because Bobby liked my work, and Nick did too.
No doubt about it, but I think it was not just, it was the work, it was the fire, it was the whole attitude you brought, it was the young freshness, and again, as a smaller guy in the business, you fought like a heavyweight. I'll never forget, I heard Bill Watts come back after I was very green before I left and started the territories, and I worked a match in wherever it was for Bill Watts, and he came back and explained watch Chavo Guerrero. He works like a heavyweight. Chavo was a big guy, and you did the same thing. You never looked out of place, no matter who you were wrestling, whether it was Nick Bockwinkel, whether it was the Russians in Charlotte, no matter who you faced as a single, or no matter who you and Robert faced as a tag team, you guys always looked like you belonged in that spot. And I had the pleasure and honor of working with you guys in Smoky Mountain in that angle, but it was nothing like you and Stan and Bobby, or you and Bobby and Dennis did in the Carolinas. When you guys first started, you blew away everybody, and it even got so to the point where the Dream said, hey, nobody's going to outsell a Dream, baby. I'm going to be on the cards too. So, I mean, but what I'm saying is nobody knows that except the guys who were there, and you were one of the guys who was there, and that's what these guys need to understand when they come to see you, and that's what guys need to understand when they even see you in the locker room, wherever it may be. We all think about, well, nobody remembers us from the 80s. Well, yeah, if they don't remember us from the 80s, I don't think they need to be in the business. That's just my opinion. I think they need to understand the history, and they need to know the guys who came before them, what they did and why they did it. Again, because if you want to learn from the guys who were there, you want to be there is what I'm trying to say. The only ones who know what it's like to be there are the guys who were, and you and Robert and some of the other guys out there still.
Well, Tom, I appreciate that, what you're saying to me, and I did. I worked hard, and my secret was, and I try to teach these guys, if you can make yourself believe what you're doing, just think what the fans think, and I try to do that. Especially working with big guys. You can't go out and overpower them. You can't go out there and expect a guy weighing 300 pounds to take a tackle for you. And that's what really disgusts me sometimes when I try to explain the psychology of our business, or just a little ring savage. Just how to start the match off telling the story instead of starting the match off with hot spot number one. It's just really gets to me sometimes, and later on, today I was just sitting around thinking about in the 80s. I guess it was the galore for tag team wrestling that in the early 90s. Tommy, I was thinking about all of that, when it was you and Stan Lane as the Heavenly Bodies, and, the Stan left, and they brought Jimmy Del Rey in, and to tell you the truth, I might have told you this before, they come in and introduce me to Jimmy Del Rey. Here he is. He's got, we're needing to do a benefit show to buy this boy a tooth. His tooth knocked out, and redhead, he looked like Opie Taylor, and I'm going, oh my God. But then, and this just happened to me too, not long ago too. Right when I got in the ring with him, and you could tell too, Tom, when I just locked up with him, went, oh my God, he's great. And I just did that with a guy from Impact Wrestling that I don't know the guys' names. I don't know a lot of their names now. The kid that Shane Him manages on Impact Wrestling, kid with the beard, I was working with him not long ago. And, and I don't go over nothing. But when I locked up with him in the ring, I knew that he knew. And we had a hell of a match because I could trust him with my body. I could trust him doing things. But getting back to that, you and Jimmy Del Rey and you and Spanish. But, it was great. I mean, it's times that the matches and the angles that were done that when and I try to tell people that, we didn't sell a building out once a year. Most of the time we sold them out every week. And, and they don't understand that. They don't comprehend that when you try to tell them that, they think that, I get a lot of ribbon. Oh, man, it's sold out. Dude, if you wasn't there then, you didn't know.
Right.
You remember we used to wrestle in Johnson City at the old Rec Center. And they had the old beams that went across that. And that's where I got the thing. They were hanging from the rafters because then, you didn't have the fire marshal coming down there. Man, they stuck many people in buildings you can get. And again, they'd be sitting that's where I got that from. They sitting on the rafters across on the ceiling up there. That's where I used to tell people, man, they was hanging from the rafters. And that was really cool. But that's a true story, though, man. A lot of guys don't get that. And when I told them that son of a gun was sold out, you damn right it was sold out. But great times. You know what, Tom? And that reminds me, I was doing I do a lot of seminars. And thank you, because I learned a lot from you. It's not all about getting in the ring, showing them stuff. It's about the talking. But that somebody asked me, that was one of the best dealing with all the, they've said with the Midnight Express and Little Russians, and I know that y'all did a lot of our Broadways, but what is one of the best finishes that you ever done? I said, the best finish I ever done, and I'm serious about this, and I tell people to watch this, is when Robert and I wrestled you and Jimmy Del Rey in Pikeville, Kentucky, Loser Lee Town in a cage. That was one of the best finishes because we all worked it up like we were leaving Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and that people had no clue that you and Jimmy Del Rey were going to WWE or WWF at the time. Right. And we're in that cage and just watch it. And 1, 2, 3, I'm serious. The roof comes off the building. That's just how to tell a story, how to make the people believe what we done. And that whole thing, that whole angle, we just, from all of us, the standpoint, we worked it to the part where the people thought that Robert and I were leaving, but we wasn't. You guys were, and we just blew the roof off the dadgum place.
Well, I think, again, it goes back to believing, it goes back to enjoying it, and it goes back to the art of storytelling. And there is a difference between professional wrestling and sports entertainment. We didn't have a lot of Hollywood writers. We had Jimmy and again, some guys who really loved wrestling and loved doing what they were doing. So, I think it was a little more authentic, and I think that's one of those things that you can talk about and tell these guys, but I think, too, it has to be a love for the business. And you know what I mean by love for the business? You almost relish those 6 to 7 hour car rides or however long it took. I mean, because you were having fun. But it was every night. They don't have that luxury now. The kids don't have that luxury because it's a different business and it's a different way of making a living. But I see some guys out there doing a good job on the independent scene, and some not so good. But I mean, it's still a great business. It's still a cool business, and it's still cool when you get people who love it and want to hear about the history of it and are interested in the history. Excuse me.
Well, that's the point you just made right there, Tom. I still love this business. And I do. I mean, I'll tell you this right here. You hear that old story. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. That's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
But I do love. I love the wrestling business. When I'm come off the road, I love coming down to my school here. I love teaching. I love sitting down watching matches with my boys and making them understand what they did wrong and what they did right when to do this. And it's great. I'm not here trying to jockey for a job. I'm not here trying because I love what I do. But in my heart, Tom, and I know you do too, we still have a lot to offer this business. And you know that, and I know that too. But it is what it is. But every day, we're down here this weekend, and as a matter of fact, Cornette's going to be there. We're in Freedom Hall this Friday.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Yeah. I can't wait till the show comes. I can't wait to get there.
The guys you're working with, Sigmund and Elliot, are two really good workers who love the business too, and they respect the business. They respect you and Robert especially, and they respect the guys who came before them too. So that'll make it a good match as well. I mean, that'll be a great show. That'll be a great time, and it's always good when you have guys like that who want to have fun and enjoy storytelling and know what it's like to storytell.
Oh yeah, it sure does. And so, Tom, let me ask you a question, and since you're here on the podcast, I mean, and I am on the independent circuit, but I've been out here for all my life. I mean, answer me truly from your heart. What are you doing? I mean, do you still want to work? Do you know, or?
Well, you know
happy?
what? There's times when I do want to work, and there's times when I really don't. It's the times when I don't is when I'm sitting in the dressing room, and I'm listening to guys who don't know what they're talking about, don't care to know what they're talking about, don't want to find out if they even know what they're talking about. But there's other times when, like, for instance, I went to England. Let me give you an example. I went to England last year for just a weekend. I mean, I flew over on a Friday, got in Saturday morning, spent 2.5 hours in customs, got through, went to the hotel, took a shower, ate something, and went and did this great seminar. Then we went out that night, ate dinner, talked to the kids all night, did it again Sunday, caught a plane Sunday night back here in the States. I mean, for one weekend, and it was great. I enjoyed the hell out of it. This time I'm going over in I think it's April. The guy sent me a message saying, hey, would you be interested in doing a tag team or a six-man with me? And I thought, oh, God, I really don't want to work and get hurt. But then I sent one back saying, yeah, man, because I know your guys, and I know we'll have fun, and I know they respect the business, and they want to go out and have a good time, and they want to tell a story, and they are old school. So, I mean, on stuff like that, yes. But there's other times when I just don't want to be around the guys who don't want to take the time to take the time. You know what I mean?
Well, I got you on that. See, that happens to me a lot, Tom, many times. You know, it's like 9 out of 10 times, and the guys who are out there listening to this, not being disgraceful to them a lot, but sometimes it's like going on a blind date. You never know what you're going to get. You know, and like I was telling you earlier, you know, you can lock up with the guy. And you hear this a lot. You know, I don't know if the guys are trying to rib you, and they don't know, but they don't understand. Well, we don't have to worry about, you know, just say, for instance, you know, me and George South,
right.
I wrestled him the other night, and they go, well, you know, you're trying to say something. They want it to be funny, but they're not. What takes George 10 minutes to get his jacket off? And I'm thinking to myself, and I want to tell this guy, yeah, when you get in the ring and it takes you 10 minutes to get your jacket off, and the people are losing their mind, right? That's when I want to work with you. But until then, I don't want to get in the ring with you, because you don't understand. You know, they don't understand that. You know, that I am 60 years old, that I can still go if I want to, but I don't, because I don't trust you. Exactly. I don't do a Hurricane Corona with you because I don't trust you. I don't fly out of the ring, you know, on top of you, because I don't trust you to catch me.
Right.
That's what they don't understand.
They do. Sometimes it's fun. No, they don't. They don't understand. Sometimes you're right. It is fun, but yeah, you're 100% right. That's what I mean. I mean, I'll work with George 7 nights a week if I could.
Yeah, I love working with George. You know, gosh.
Hey, I'm booking a territory right now. You two boys and him. I mean, we're good to go. I make money. We'll swap out hoods, and man, we're in business. 5 matches. I can have that booked tomorrow night.
Outstanding.
Well, Tom, it seems like to me, you know, we have a lot. And of course, we kind of, and I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm 36 coming up, but been around.
How old are you, Brian?
30. I'll be 36 next month, Ricky.
What happened, son?
Oh, for God's sake!
I'm just kidding.
No, but I had the misfortune, I would say, to get into the wrestling business when it was after the territories had pretty much, you know, folded up and went away, and the different system. And now, man, I'd love to work every night of the week, but that's not even theoretically a real option. But It seems to me, in a lot of ways, from watching in the past, and I've been lucky to be around guys like you guys, of course, obviously Bobby, and being as close to him as I am, but to learn the old school ways, because we have those road trips, and I think that is what's missing in a lot of ways, is that guys don't travel that far distance or whatever. Even the ones that do travel together don't know what they're talking about, so all they're doing is making things worse. But, you know, we've replaced emotion with a lot of moves. And ooh and ah will make you ooh and ah, but you won't want to come back and ooh and ah. But and an emotion will make you want to come back and see the finality of that, or want to come back and buy a ticket, because people are emotionally tied to you guys because you were from that era. Where Ricky Morton, man, this woman cried when Ricky Morton was getting pounded by a Russian, or even by a Dr. Tom Prichard or whatnot. So, Tom, do you think it's just the guys? Do you think they're better athletes in some ways, have a lot of moves, but they don't know how to make those moves mean anything? Like you guys knew how to put a leg drop in there or whatnot?
Well, here's what I think is missing. Number one, WWE's already said, listen, we're all scripted. This will work. This is what we're doing. And they talk about how they're being written in as scripted promos. That's the way it is. I get that. I can't knock success, okay? And everybody's making a lot more money. And yes, they are probably better athletes. But I was raised, and Ricky was raised in Tennessee wrestling. I was raised on Texas wrestling, which was pretty similar,
right,
in the sense that they did some outrageous things. I mean, they did some crazy, crazy things on TV and live. I mean, like throwing fire. They had a loaded boot. They had a glove. They had a cane. They had a canteen. All these outrageous gimmicks. J.C. Dykes would blow a whistle and give his Infernos signals and brought the fans to bring their whistles to confuse them, and then he had a flashlight to give them signals that way, and the fans would bring, he told a story. It was, the fans got involved, and sure, they might have known it was a work back then, but not everybody just threw it in their face. And you also had guys,
right,
who would go for hard ways and get punched in the face for real just to convince the fans that what they were doing was for real. I think that if you haven't seen that or felt an emotional attachment to something like that, you don't know what that is. And when you watch it, in this day and age of having all this entertainment and all this available video and games at your instant gratification, I guess, you don't understand what that emotion is and what that feeling is, where we're coming from.
Right.
We used to watch it, and sure, we might have known it was a work, but at the same time, it was so great at working. It was the greatest improv, and still is the greatest improv business in the world. And to go out there and be able to create that magic and to create that feeling. See, we didn't talk about the match for hours in the back. We didn't have the opportunity or the luxury to go out and rehearse move by move. And that made it so much better when you connected on those moves, because it is about timing. It's about feeling. The old deal is, if it looks good, you'll see it. If it sounds good, you'll hear it. If it's marketed right, you'll buy it. But if it's real, you'll feel it. And when you stepped in the ring, you felt it. That's why Cornette says this all the time, and he uses this example. This is where I get it from. When Ricky was selling, he would look like he's crying and look out to the front row and say, "Help me!" And they would have him in the palm of his hands. So that was the ability. Now it's really a well-produced television show, a well-produced ice capades. Not that it's bad. It's just not what I was raised on, and not what I can necessarily follow or do. But I mean, it is what it is.
I think Tom would say, and I've often compared it to almost like today's wrestling is almost a parody of what it once was.
Exactly.
You're seeing a parody on television, but not the same emotion like you're talking about. And part of it, I'd argue, it's hard to get the same kind of heat that you could generate, say, in the 70s and 80s and even early 90s today, because, unfortunately, and we're in kind of a, I'll be nice on this and say, a wussified society. I've heard stories of, I think Alberto Del Rio got some heat somewhere in town, and some mom called the office. It's also a little bit of the challenge is a whole different era. People wanting to file lawsuits left and right over little things. You made my little kid cry.
Yeah.
And we've become very entitled generation too. Let me ask you this, Tom. Do you think there's enough talent out there? Do you think if somebody actually sat down and said, okay, I've got unlimited financial resources, I want to do wrestling the way it used to be done, do you think it could happen? And is there enough talent out there, smart enough, schooled enough? You use Sigmund and Elliot Russell as good prime examples. I think they could pull it off. But do you think there's enough talent nationwide to really start even one organization that could have territorial TV and maybe even a modified national presence and syndication? Do you think it could be done?
Well, as much as I wish it could, I just really don't, because of the fact of the national cable. I think Vince is too. Let me say this.
Yeah. Tom, let me interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Brian, we could do this if we done it in North Korea.
There you go. But he's even in North Korea, you know?
If we went to North Korea, we might could pull it off. I mean, nowadays, I'm not trying to be an asshole, man. I mean, it's just, you had too much. It's been too much. But the business is still great. And but I'm not trying to change the thing, but I was listening to you talk a while ago, and Tom, you can answer this in a minute. I was with one of the guys out in Amarillo, older guys, and I'm doing a seminar, and he's watching, and all of a sudden he just loses his mind. I mean, he's blah, 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 and they're looking at me, and I'm going, dude, don't take it defensively. It's just the way that we were broken, and what he's saying it to you, even though he's cussing and he's telling you this and telling you that, on our day, it was twice as rough, and I'm serious, I was with one of the boys out there in Amarillo, and he just flipped out. But I was telling him that you got to go with the flow now. I mean, it's, it's newer days, it's newer business. You got to learn how to deal with them without cussing every word coming out your mouth. I'm sorry, man. You got me off on a roll there, but
Rick, if I could jump in, I will say I think this is coming from somebody that's somewhere kind of stuck in between. I think a lot of these independent promoters, they have it kind of on a gold and silver platter. They could promote more wrestling, but yet they try to be a WWE light, and there is no. You cannot look anything less than B level when you try to do that. Why not give it the way it used to be?
Because they don't know how it used to be.
Okay, but stop. So somebody asked me about one of the top stars in the business today that traveled to Japan a lot, and no disrespect to him either, but I'm not mentioning names, but sometimes you can figure out who I'm talking about. This guy that does one of the most greatest hot spots in the world, and he does this right here. But he's good to see, but after you see him the third time, I done seen everything. I mean, Well, I don't know if you guys are understanding what I'm saying. I mean, God, the first time I seen him, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
The second time I seen him, it was great, but the third time I seen him, I said, well, I done seen this. I don't want to come back.
Well, the thing is, Bushwhacker Luke just did a seminar up in New Jersey, and Luke told the kids, let me try and get this quote right because the guy sent it to me. He said, in the old days, in my day, they used to come to cheer the good guy and boo the bad guy and watch the good guy beat the bad guy. These days, they're watching some high-talented or high-spot athletes do a bunch of high spots, or great talented athletes do a bunch of high spots, and that's it. And that's which is, again, it's not knocking them. It's just they do a lot of great things.
Truth. I'm not. Yeah. After the third time, it was a rerun.
Right.
Right. Yeah. But it's not David and Goliath. It's not the baby face fight from the bottom. It's not the. Now I watch guys wrestle. Guys, I watched a match the other night, and I told the guys, dude, you're 7 foot tall. The guy you wrestle is 3'6".
Yeah.
And he beat your butt the whole time. I said, dude, can't y'all tell a story? And I told the little guy that, man. I said, man, if you'd have went out there and just sold for this big guy when you beat him at the end, the people would have been behind you. Did you notice 5 minutes in the match? There wasn't nobody in the crowd. I mean, what I'm trying to say is 5 minutes in the match, they didn't care. It was just dead quiet. Yeah. That's learning. Tom, you said something earlier about learning that magic. That's a hard thing to teach people. You try to make them understand, but it's our business. And
but Ricky, who did you watch where you learned that magic from? I mean, who got you to where you said, God, man, I got that. I want to be like that, or that makes me want to do something like that. I mean, you had to see somebody. For me, it was
this is something I tried, and I tell my dad when I was breaking into business, my dad was teaching me, and he told me, he says, listen to me. He said, I can sit here and talk to you till I'm blue in the face. I'll be better off talking to that wall. You're not going to understand what I'm talking about. You're going to have to learn this on your own. But whoever taught me how to, but I'm telling you, Ken Lucas really got me where I was learning how to listen to them people and then learning that magic. Tom, and the magic is what I'm talking about, learning how to work. It's something that And I do. That's something that you got to learn on your own, too. It comes to you. It's like learning how to play a guitar or learning how that music, that magic. And that's why when I learned that magic, it's just the greatest business in the world, the greatest show on earth, professional wrestling. And I did. I learned, it's the same thing. Ken Lucas taught me, how to feel it's hard to explain, too, right now. And it's like me trying to explain, you can't explain when you learn that feeling of that magic, but you can.
Right. Well, it is. It is.
You
like
know it too, Tom. I don't got to tell you. You know what I'm talking about. When you go to the ring, it's like 9 out of 10 times nowadays you get your finish and they sit back there in the back and they go over this damn match for 3 hours in the dressing room.
Yeah.
I'll walk by them. I said, damn, how long are y'all going? 3 hours in this match? But they don't even understand that 9 out of 10 times that when in our day, and I ain't trying to say that I walked 20 miles to school barefooted. I'm not saying that I did all this.
25, right?
But I understand we didn't get our finishes, Steve. Most of the time, he is going to the ring.
Yeah.
Or two, when you stepped to the ring, referee walked over to you and tell you, well, you're going over Broadway, and by Saba da-da-da, they're going to da-da-da. And, buddy, when that bell rung, we knew how to set the tone. We knew that magic. We knew how to tell the story to the finish. And that's why, Tom, when I'm in the ring, and I do, back then I let the heel call the match. How many times I've been in the ring with you and you called the match, Tom?
Well,
because you knew who we were going.
Yeah.
You knew what, if you knew you were going over, ba-ba-da-da-da, I didn't have to worry. You told that story to the end. And it wasn't in there, me trying to, outpiss you, see which one of us could piss up others. We knew that both of us could work. And sometimes if something worked out, so I said something, but 9 out of 10 times, look at you work the match and you're in the ring and you've got to call the spot, they'll tell you, shut up.
But that was...
You many times I heard that, Tom, shut up.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, shut up, I'm calling this match.
And the bad part about it is they don't have the luxury of working 6-7 nights a week either. I mean, it is a different business. I mean, we got to take all that into consideration. But I think the one thing doesn't change. A couple things don't change. The fundamentals don't change, and the love and the feeling for the business won't change. And that's what you're talking about. You either feel it or you don't. If you're in it to make money and you're in it to just be a star, then that's wrong. That's the wrong avenue, I think. Because it'll come if you feel it and you love it. That's what I think.
Well, and the boys depended on each other. This is what we done. Like you just said that. They didn't understand. And our days are in a hot angle and you're hurt. But we could go to the ring and nobody ever knew I was hurt.
Right.
Because they knew what they were doing. We knew what we were doing. You knew how to cover it up. You knew how to go to here. You knew how to go there. And another thing, you just said that's great that we did wrestle every night. And that's what I try to preach to these independent boys. If you don't work every night, come to my school.
There you go.
You can make up for it. I'm not here. I don't have the answers to everything. I can't make you a WWE star, and I'll let you know that right off the bat. But I can make you a better wrestler. And I promise you, but you've got to come to my school and train to do that. Because if you're not, we had the luxury of, like you just said, of wrestling every night. Learning from some of the best guys in the business. But if you don't have that luxury, why not come to my school, dude? I'm not here to con you out of any money. I'm not here to take you for a free ride. I'm here to give you my time and to teach you what I know. But it takes a while to do that because, first of all, it's what we were talking to understand. I got to make you understand what my business is about. And if you don't understand what my business is about, you're never going to get it. Yeah. I told somebody this other night, the first thing I did at a seminar is I asked somebody, who is this guy here? Now, as a matter of fact, I'll just tell you, Tom, because you know. I asked the guy, I said, who's Bruiser Bob Sweetan?
Yeah.
I never heard of him in my life. Well, that's fine. But I guarantee you that I can go to any football player and any football player in the world, and I can ask him, no matter what position he plays, who is Johnny Unitas? He's going to tell me who he is. But it's the same thing in our business.
Yeah.
When I asked you who somebody is, you should know. You should know the history of our business, even though he wasn't the greatest star in our business. Just read up on our business a lot. Understand what it's about. Go back. I was in Amarillo, and I asked somebody this other day who was about Ricky Romero. They never heard of Ricky.
And nobody knew Ricky Romero in Amarillo, Texas?
Well, yeah, they did there, but I don't know.
Okay,
Yes,
good,
you Ricky Romero there. But if I can go out here tonight, and which is a good thing. When I fix to start school in a minute, I'm going to ask everybody who Ricky Romero is.
Rapid Ricky Romero.
Won't know.
Yeah.
They won't know.
Well,
but they will know Sunday when I come back in here, because I'm going to have a report from all of them, and that's what I do here at my school. That's things that I do. See, and it's one thing that helps me, because here in a minute we're doing this podcast, but I got school to teach, and when I go out there, I will ask them that. You know what, Tom? And it's the same thing here. And I'm looking. I'm just sitting here writing, and I'm writing down. Sitting here talking, thinking, and because I love my business, I understand it, and I'm writing tag teams down here. I bet people never even heard of the Kansas Jayhawks, who the hell they are. Dutch Mantel, Bobby Jaggers.
How about
one of my favorite tag teams that I love to work with, and I bet they don't know, is the Grapplers.
Yes.
Lynn Ditton and Dirty White Boy, or
Tony Anthony. Yes.
Gosh, these guys don't even understand it. And then, Tom, I'm going to say this right here. We was talking about him earlier, like Chavo Guerrero. You never knew he was a little guy. But you ever go back and watch the tapes of Chavo and Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero and Hector?
Yeah.
Okay, listen, though. But every hot spot that you see on WWE, they done it 40 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They done this 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But nobody took the time to see it. But I learned so much. And I used to be amazed, even if I wasn't working with Hector or Chavo, and if it was a tag team or Chavo was by himself, I made sure I watched this match, because, gosh, he did stuff that was unbelievable. And I'm talking 35 years ago and 40 years ago when I watched this. Yes. And and nowadays you say, well, I want to do this movie, guys. Then I try to tell them, go do our history. Go watch Chavo and Hector Guerrero. Watch Armando Guerrero. You see stuff that they're doing on WWE now, a move that they done 40 years ago. You just didn't. They did. The person before you studied on WWE, they beat you to the punch and seen them do it. That's all.
Right. Yeah. What's old will be new again, man. What's old will be new again.
Yes, I do. You know what? If you talking earlier, the bushwhackers. Remember they used to be called the sheep herders.
Yes, sheep herders. The Kiwis.
The sheep herders, man. I love them. Yeah. Well, you had Luke Williams and other boy that. Well, who was the other one before him?
Jonathan Boyd.
Jonathan Boyd. He died. Jonathan. Yes. I was just thinking about him, guys. They were all seasoned, but they're all guys that just loved our business, and they was the ones that loved. Beg your pardon?
Just how talented were they to basically go from just brutal heels to these lovable baby faces, and that just shows what kind of talent that they had.
Yeah, versatility is what it was, and they knew if they wanted to make they knew how to adapt, and nobody really knows. I don't want to say nobody knows how to adapt these days, but it's hard to adapt if you just can't, and you have to be willing to. I really think so, man.
Yes, when we went through learning processes, especially Robert and I, they wanted to get, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, gosh, man. Ted DiBiase and Dr. Death Steve Williams, what a tag team they were.
Yeah.
Buzz
Sawyer.
But nobody even thought poor Ricky Morton. He's out there teaching them and getting his ass whooped, and nobody even knows it. These guys, they didn't understand. Gosh, I love Doc. But boy, when he broke into business, was he one to work with? My goodness.
But he was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Tom, but I wouldn't take nothing for that, and You know, and understand me, and I love, you know, when Ivan, Nikita, and Barry Dorso, when they were the Russians in NWA, but you think about the real Russians, Nikolai Volkov. You know, these guys, man, they paved the roads for a lot of people, and they paved the roads for me. And I don't know if anybody's ever stopped to say thank you, but boy, I did.
Yeah.
Boy, I did, and I appreciated them. I loved them all. Loved working with them. Gosh, you know, man, another name here. Yeah, I was sitting here thinking, I'm writing tag teams down, and you're talking about back with Nick Bockwinkel and Joe Blanchard. What about Tully Blanchard and Gino Hernandez?
Yeah.
What a tag team. What a talker that Gino was. Gosh, man, nobody could understand. You know, Gino wasn't the best 5-star talent in the world, but he didn't have to. Because, buddy, when you looked at him, when he walked in that door, you knew Gino Hernandez was in the house.
Yes.
By his look, by the way he dressed, by the way he talked, by the way he walked. Gino Hernandez, you knew that night that he was the man with the plan. And it's a lot of guys. Yeah, that's what, see, Tom was talking earlier, not only about wrestling, is how to present yourself. You know, I wasn't the very best out of it. I made a lot of mistakes in my life, a lot of them. But if I can just change one life, if I can just change one person, that when you walk through that door, understanding and respecting and knowing what our business is about, that's when I got my job done. Mistakes I made in my life, you know, but you know, I have no regrets. You know, I am who I am, and I love it, and I can't change that. You know, I know who Tom Prichard is, and I love Tom Prichard. I know all these guys, you know, man, but, you know, and it's you, that's why, Tom, when you come to my school, I know my school's in good hands because you understand and you know what I went through and you went through, and we're here. So when I'm not here, Tom Prichard walks to my door, he's running my school that day. The only thing that I can tell people is that my school is that much better today because I have Dr. Tom Prichard in the house. And that's a compliment to you, son. I hope you enjoy it.
Well, I appreciate
that.
I do. I appreciate that very much.
My school's better today. Tom Prichard's in the house. You know. But it's a lot of guys like that, man. Not only that, Brian, and you know, understand me, Bobby Eaton, I've told you 1,000 times. You go out, you'll never hear one person say one thing bad about Bobby Eaton. One person. You cannot get nobody to knock him. Bobby was one of the greatest workers in our business. But I love what I done. You know, I was sitting here, was thinking about, I was talking about somebody earlier, and here we go. We get Manny Fernandez and Rick Rude. What a tag team they were. Gosh, man, and nobody knows about that, you know. That's what I was saying, you know, earlier, Nikolai Volkov and Barry Dorso, when they were the Russians for Bill Watts and helping, you know, and this is people that understand because you had your jobs in our business, and that's what we forgot about now. Nikolai and Barry were the format for me and Robert to get over to wrestle the Midnight Express. And boy, did they get us over. You hear me? I mean, that's just what our business was about. And we went through them. And gosh, man, and this today's and of learning our business and knowing what we're going to. But you know what you were saying? We can't. There's so much wrestling and so much is out there that nowadays, if you try to make the people believe what you're doing, you're only ones that's believing is the boys, and you got to smarten it up because they don't know.
Exactly.
Okay, that's the way I feel.
Yeah, I got to agree with you on that. Yeah.
Where are we at, man? We got to way out there, and we. Gosh,
it's okay.
Man on the moon. Man on the moon. But it was great. I thought it was. Thomas, I know you had some experience with some great tag teams.
Well,
especially
no, I mean, the tag teams that influenced me, and just remember them growing up again, I mean, if you want to put these on the list too, I said the Infernos and J.C. Dykes. I know they went to Tennessee. J.C. was from Cleveland, Tennessee. You had the Von Brauners with Saul Weingroff. Another team was in Tennessee.
Grace, you know, Don and Al Green, the Heavenly Bodies, they wrestled as the Heavenly Bodies too.
Yes. Yeah, they did.
You had them, you know, the Mighty Yankees, which was Frank Morrell and was it Pepe Lopez? Was he one?
I think so.
You know, he was one of the Blue Infernos too.
Yeah.
Gypsy Joe. You know what? You know, and then it was Gypsy Joe. You know, Gypsy Joe was I think one of them, wasn't he? Wasn't he one of the Mighty Yankees?
Yeah, Blue Infernos too.
Yes, he was. And that was great. You know, Joe just passed away.
Yeah.
I like Joe. He wouldn't say what's on his mind, Lee.
Yeah, right. Right. You know, he's another guy I had a lot of fun with. But
right.
Yeah.
Right, take us on to this conversation. What we at here?
Yeah.
Well, Rick, we went beyond the hour, so you guys just proved you can still do an hour Broadway even now. So, Rick, and
I guarantee you,
if you don't mind, Brian,
Brian, I guarantee if anybody's out there wanting to know this, if you just want to think about this, I promise you, me and Tom Prichard could do an hour of Broadway with no problem.
I'm buying the first ticket.
You know,
hey, Brian,
you know, and not that we want to, but because I have 6,000 finishes in my back pocket. Not that we want to.
Right.
Well, we could.
Right.
But Tom,
anyway. Yes, sir.
And Brian.
Go ahead, Tom. I think Tom had a comment there.
I want you to, Tom, any last thoughts that you want to say?
Before we go, I did want to say, because one of the final exams or last parts of training that I have was doing an hour Broadway, and I've actually done an hour Broadway with a couple of students in there. So, and the first one I did was with Heath Slater, WWE. I broke my ankle the first 10 minutes in, and we kept going, did the whole hour, and in the end he threw up. So I have that to my claim to fame there. But that's what we do, or we did, is when we're getting near the end, we're just letting them know there's no such thing as an hour Broadway these days, but we always had the kids do an hour Broadway before they left. So just want to throw that out there. But hey, listen, thank you very much for having me on your podcast this evening. I had a blast. It's always great talking about wrestling, but always great talking to you, Rick, and Brian. Always like
thank you, Tom, and I'll be calling you soon.
Very good. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And what I said a while ago is from my heart.
I know it is. I appreciate it.
When you come into my school's going to be better that day.
Well,
okay.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate
it is.
Give me that.
It's going to be better that day, because it's only you see, because you understand where I'm coming from. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, I could say something and you already know. You know, it's there. Thank you. It's a pleasure having you here today on our School of Morton podcast. And before I let you go, thank you, Tom, for all the years. Thank you for the memories. And most of all, thank you for being my friend.
Right back
at you.
Have a good day.
Thank you, buddy.
All right.
Have a good night,
see you guys. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you both, gentlemen. Everybody, that's been this month's edition of School of Morton podcast. It doesn't get much better than that. For Ricky Morton, for Tom Prichard, Brian Thompson, saying happy holidays. We'll talk to you again next month.